of the things that we promised we were going to talk about today is time. And I was saying that I was just discussing with my son that, that old adage about we all get the same amount of time as Mother Teresa. It's just a matter of what you decide to do with your time, but you have that bank account that has the exact same amount of time that she had. Okay, so when you're an autism parent and you're looking at time, it's really a juggling act again and again and again, right? And the juggling act, by the way, changes. In the beginning, when your child is first diagnosed, when they're 2, 2.5, 3, you're really trying to get that 40 hours of therapy in. And that's really got to be your focus. And you got to build everything else around that time. And really, there's no other way to do it. If you try to say, well, we want to do the 40-hour program, but we need to get to Gymboree and we want to do Little League and all of those things, and you put them all as equal importance, I can tell you what's going to happen. You're not going to get 40 hours of therapy in. And while I think that the Gymboree classes and Little League are super duper important, when you have a window of time in which you know that you can be more effective than any other time in your child's life, and that they can play Little League on a more consistent basis in a couple of years, and if they get this therapy, they're going to be better at it. For me, it was a no-brainer that I must prioritize the 40-hour-a-week program, and that speech and OT come after that. A lot of times parents get confused about this because your funding source will say to you, oh no, it's 40 hours a week maximum with everything entailed. I will tell you that there are loopholes in that. But if that is the hard and fast and you've done the research and they say, nope, we're not paying anything past 40 hours, then for a child who's 3, the research is clear. Spend the 40 hours doing an intensive ABA program, because with a 3-year-old, you're going to get speech and OT within that ABA program. If you can, and I think most funding sources, if you push, you can get them to fund the 40-hour ABA if you've got the prescription for it, and then on top of that, get the speech and OT from another funding source. We have lots of parents that have been successful for that. But again, if all you've got is the 40 hours, do the ABA program, at least for those early years. Later on, your child goes to school and now it's a different juggling act. How do you spend the time? You probably aren't going to have time for a 40-hour-a-week program anymore when the child starts school. So you've got to prioritize. In fact, at 5, is school the right place for the child, or could they do much better with a 40-hour program and delay going to school a year? Parents have done it. Once your child is ready and needs to be at school, then very likely there would be an automatic shift of a reduction of some hours with your ABA program. But still, it's hard. How do you balance having a life, doing your ABA program, having school, doing homework? And it really means you got to prioritize and say, what we were able to do is to say to teachers, when does the homework have to be done? Because on this day we're ABA heavy, we really don't have time to do homework. And we were able to work out a system where we could turn in homework when we had the time to do it. In fact, they just said, oh, we're just going to take it on. It's Friday, okay, can we just accept it? And then I had a whole week to plan how to do the homework, handed it all in on Friday. As my child got older, it's a constant shifting sand, but you got to know what your priorities are of what to do with the time. And we always prioritized ABA, and I've never been sorry about that. So with that in mind, there are a couple of things that happen in your life. We asked you the question earlier today, what do you do when a therapist cancels? Well, if you've prioritized your life and said, we're getting our full prescription because we're 100% clear on the studies. We know how important that is, so we're prioritizing. We've rearranged our life, and then a therapist is supposed to be there to meet your child or to come to your house to meet your child, and they're not able to come, and you get the phone call, you get the text, whatever, saying that they can't come. What do you do then? And, I was talking with a lot of parents last week and asking this question, what do you do? And a lot of them said, basically, I feel frustrated. And I said, okay, that's what you're feeling, but what do you do? And some parents had some really great ideas about what to do, and I wanted to add mine into that. That some parents have a set thing that if a therapist can't come, if there's no fill-in to come, that they have a set fun thing to do that's educational that they go and do, like their favorite museum or their favorite sensory gym where they can go to, and that's their fallback, that they know if somebody cancels, this is what we're going to do so that we don't lose this time. It's fun, it's educational, and that's what we're going to do. But what if there's a fill-in available? So your therapist that was supposed to come couldn't come. A lot of times your ABA provider will offer you a fill-in. This is another ABA trained therapist. They may not be as experienced as the therapist you had. They may not know your child. And so a lot of parents were telling me, I don't feel comfortable with that, so I just cancel the session. And I want to ask you to walk with me a little bit and say, what if? What if you didn't cancel that session? And a lot of parents, you could feel the angst of, oh, but they don't know my child. And, and then it's going to be a waste. It's not going to be useful time. It's this, it's that, whatever. And I was able to share with some parents what was taught to me early on. The very first family, which was Logan Shepard's family, they were the ones who told us about CARD and got us started at CARD. It's one of the many reasons why I love Logan. He was little Logan then. But his parents sat me down and said, here's what you need to know. Never cancel a session. Like, that's gold. That is time in your time bank. And they knew, even before the study showed, that it's one of the biggest factors in whether your child makes success is how much success is how much time they actually have doing therapy. So never, they said to me, cancel a fill-in session. But what they suggested that I do is use those fill-in sessions to work on maintenance. So when your child is doing therapy, they will master something. There'll be some skill that they learn. Let's say that they learn blue, the color blue, and they've gotten it. They can do it in 3 out of 5 trials. They can do it with different people. They can point to something and say, what color is that? Blue. They know what blue is. Great. It goes in the mastered file, which then goes into maintenance. Because sometimes our kids gain skills and they go away. They just disappear. This was certainly my kid, and this is a lot of kids who are on the autism spectrum. So instead of canceling a session when you're, the therapist who knows your child, your therapist can't come, you take the fill-in who never has met your child before. Let's say that, maybe they've met them once, but maybe they've never met them before. They come in, and what I was told, you just have them run everything that's in your child's maintenance. Because, by the way, your therapists are supposed to do this on a semi-regular basis, but the therapists don't love doing it because it's old stuff. It's not exciting. So it's not high on their hit parade list, right? Whereas for the fill-in, they're the perfect person to run the maintenance folder because they don't know your child. And really, for your child to be considered that they've actually mastered this skill, it means they could do it with anybody, even somebody who isn't trained in ABA. So it could be this therapist's first day, and they're not perfect at it. Ideal person to be doing the maintenance folder with your child. Because if your child can do it with this person who doesn't know them and is fairly new to ABA, your child really has this skill. And it's great, and we check off the little box. We did maintenance. We don't need to come back to this for several months, if ever, right? If your child sits down and with this therapist who doesn't know them, and the therapist runs it and your child can't do it, then we got to open this back up and look at it and see, did they in fact learn this skill and really truly master it, or is this skill starting to go away? By having run it, sometimes then your therapist who's normal, the regular therapist, scheduled therapist, your therapist comes and they see, oh, they ran this in maintenance and they weren't able to do it. They do a fine tuning. Now the next time the fill-in comes, they do it again, and guess what? Your child can do it. That's a skill that you help to make sure that your child, this is useful time. When I tell you this is one of the secrets that got us good success, I'm giving you the secret sauce here. Don't cancel. If the therapist can't be there and you're offered another one, use it. If you're not being offered another therapist, Try to reschedule within the week. Sometimes certain funding sources let you reschedule within the month, but then take that time and use it. I really love the idea of going to a We Rock the Spectrum sensory gym, getting out your yayas, having that socialization and that physical thing. But my first choice would be to take a fill-in. It's really good for your child's program and helps to maintain skills. It's the ideal thing to do. I hope you'll consider doing that.